A jewelry store ignored an elderly woman, and the next day, she purchased the company and dismissed the employees. Hello everyone. Take pleasure in these calming moments as you watch. Here it is, Clara muttered, cautiously advancing toward the shop. The Golden Sun jewelry store sparkled vividly, like a completely distinct universe from the tranquil village where she resided. Her worn wool scarf made her noticeable against the well-dressed crowd flowing by. The bell above the shop door jingled softly as Clara entered. The interior exuded luxury, with shimmering glass display cases, warm golden illumination, and employees clad in immaculate uniforms standing behind the counters. However, as Clara stepped in, the atmosphere appeared to change. A few staff members exchanged discreet glances, and one even smirked. "Good morning," Clara greeted, her voice quivering slightly. "I'd like to see the necklace in that display case." A young employee, Lucy, sized Clara up with a frosty glare. "I'm sorry, which one are you referring to?" Clara pointed towards the silver necklace with the blue stone at the far right corner, her eyes brightening with hope. It was the present she had been saving for, intended for her granddaughter, who was about to marry. Lucy's lips curled into a patronizing grin. "Oh, that one. I don't believe you can afford it. It's quite expensive." Clara was taken aback by Lucy's directness, but endeavored to stay composed. "I have the money. Could you please show it to me?" Lucy subtly rolled her eyes and turned to the manager, Mr. Stephen, who was nearby. "Sir, this woman wishes to see the silver necklace in the corner." Stephen frowned as he approached. Dressed in a sharp black suit, his demeanor suggested a clear lack of respect as he glanced at Clara. "I'm sorry. That necklace isn't for sale. You can look at other pieces that might suit your budget better." "But I saw it in the display case," Clara protested, her voice now edged with confusion. "That's merely a display model, not for sale." Stephen replied curtly before turning away. Signaling the conversation's end, Clara stood quietly for a moment, feeling a tight ache in her chest. She looked around, searching for another employee willing to assist her. An older employee, Isabel, briefly met her gaze, but soon shook her head and turned away. "What a bother," a whisper emerged from a nearby counter. It was Charles, another employee, speaking to Lucy. "Does she really think she can purchase anything here? Just look at that scarf. It's probably from some flea market." Lucy suppressed a laugh, leaning in to whisper back, "She probably can't even afford the box it comes in." Clara heard every word, despite their hushed tones, her face turning crimson with embarrassment. Yet, she swallowed her pride and slowly approached a different counter. "Excuse me," she addressed another employee, Alexander, who didn't even glance her way, focused instead on polishing the glass display as if she were invisible. "I'd like to see," Clara began, opening her bag to reveal an old envelope filled with the money she had meticulously saved over the years. Alexander looked at the envelope with indifference and shrugged. "We don't have anything that cheap here. You might want to try some smaller shops in the area. They'd be more fitting." The words sliced through Clara's dignity like a knife. She tightened her grip on the envelope, regarding Alexander with an intensity that suggested she wished to say something. But no words emerged. None of them acknowledged the reality that every coin in that envelope symbolized years of labor and her aspiration to bring joy to her cherished granddaughter. Clara turned and headed toward the door, her feet feeling heavy with despair. Why? Are they treating me this way just because I'm not dressed well? She questioned herself, her heart laden with grief. Behind her, Laughter echoed, a final mockery as she left. Stepping out into the cold, Clara clutched her old cloth bag tightly. She lingered for a moment, feeling the chilly wind tugging at her worn scarf. Her eyes filled with tears that she struggled to control. "It's all right, I'll come back," she murmured to herself, but regardless of her effort, the sting clung to her. The thought of the joy on her granddaughter Lucy's face upon receiving the wedding gift made Clara resolve not to give up. With determination, she decided to return, this time striving to appear more resolute. She pushed. The door opened once more. The bell jingled again, but this time the expressions of the employees changed from surprise to outright irritation. Lucy, the young clerk from before, immediately turned to Charles with a sneer and whispered loudly enough for Clara to hear, "She actually came back. Unbelievable." Charles nudged Lucy, his eyes fixed on Clara. "Let's see what she attempts." This time, Clara heard their comments, but chose to ignore them, walking straight to the display case. Though she tried to project calm, the scrutinizing glances from the employees made her feel like an outsider in this ostentatious world. "Excuse me, could you show me that necklace?" Clara inquired, her voice steadier this time as she exerted confidence. Lucy failed to respond, crossing her arms and remaining stationary, her gaze frosty and judgmental. "Which one are you talking about? We have lots of necklaces." "The silver one with the blue stone," Clara underscored, pointing toward the display case. Lucy smirked and turned to Alexander. "Do you think she can actually afford it?" she asked, her tone saturated with ridicule. Alexander glanced at Clara, his brow furrowing slightly. "I doubt it, but let's see." He approached the case, but didn't retrieve the necklace Clara had requested. Instead, he pulled out a plain silver chain devoid of any stone. "Here, would you like to see this one? It's much cheaper, more in line with what you can afford," Alexander stated, his half-smile draining of arrogance. Clara looked at the chain, her heart sinking with disappointment. "No, I don't want this. I want the necklace with the blue stone in the case," she insisted. Lucy let out a derisive laugh, feigning surprise. "Oh really? That necklace costs 1,200 euros. Are you sure about this?" Clara didn't flinch. From her bag, she pulled out the old envelope and held it up before Lucy. "I have the money. You just need to show me the necklace." Lucy blinked at the envelope, then burst into laughter. "Cash? You brought cash here. We only accept card payments or bank transfers, but money is money, isn't it? I've saved this my entire life to buy that necklace," Clara stated, her voice beginning to choke. Lucy crossed her arms and shrugged. "We can't accept large sums of cash, and I doubt you're really here to buy anything. Maybe you're just here to look." Clara locked eyes with Lucy, her own red and tear-filled eyes. "I'm not here just to look. I want to buy that necklace. Please, show it to me." At that moment, Stephen, the manager, stepped forward. He inspected the envelope in Clara's hand with a faint smirk. "Madam, we can't sell you that necklace. It's a special piece, reserved exclusively for VIP clients." Clara froze. VIP clients? But I saw it displayed in the case. Why can't I buy it? Stephen's smirk deepened. "Simply because you're not the right customer. We have other items that might be more fitting for you. Let me show you." Clara tightened her grip on the envelope, anger bubbling within her chest. It was as if she was being pushed to the edge, treated as if she were worthless. Taking a deep breath, she attempted to maintain composure. "If you don't want to sell it to me, I'll go elsewhere," she declared. turning and striding towards the door without uttering another word. As she walked by, she heard Lucy's voice ringing out behind her. Who does she think she is? Some poor old lady coming in here pretending she can buy something. It's ridiculous. Lucy and Charles' laughter echoed behind her, slicing through Clara's pride like a sharp blade. She quickened her pace, unwilling to look back, tears streaming down her cheeks, while inside, a quiet fury began to boil like a small flame prepared to ignite. Mrs. Clara ambled slowly along the bustling street, her eyes brimming with sorrow, her heart feeling heavy. The mocking laughter of Lucy and Charles replayed in her mind, serving as a bitter reminder of how she had been disparaged for merely her simple appearance. She tried to contain her tears, but the heartache was overwhelming. Suddenly, a familiar voice called out behind her, "Mrs. Clara, Mrs. Clara." She turned to see Maria, a young neighbor from her village, rushing towards her with a large bag. "I just picked up some gifts for my family and didn't expect to see you here," Maria said cheerfully, but her expression quickly shifted to concern upon noticing Clara's demeanor. "Are you okay? You look worn out." Clara managed a weak smile and shook her head. "I'm fine, Maria. I just came from a jewelry store." Maria frowned. "A jewelry store? But why do you look so upset?" Clara hesitated before deciding to share her experience. The disdainful glances from the staff, the mocking comments she had endured. As Maria listened, her grip tightened on Clara's hand, her eyes blazing with anger. "That's outrageous. They have no right to treat you like that." "It's all right, Maria," Clara assured her, attempting to console the young woman. "I'm used to it. People like me, no one really respects us. But you don't deserve to be treated that way," Maria protested. "They don't know who you are or everything you've done. If they understood how much you've helped people in the village, they wouldn't dare look down on you." Clara offered a sad smile and chose not to argue. But inside, Maria's words planted a seed of resilience within her. She wasn't worthless. She had dedicated her life to aiding others, saving every cent to create joy for her loved ones, and she didn't deserve this injustice. Clara made the decision to return to the jewelry store, this time with a clearer purpose. "I need to prove them wrong," she thought. But her entry into the store only led to greater turmoil. As the doorbell chimed, Stephen, the manager, let out an audible sigh upon seeing her. "You're back again. I thought I made myself clear. Excuse me. I'm not here to create trouble. I simply want to purchase the necklace I inquired about," Clara stated, striving to keep her voice steady. Once more, Lucy chimed in with her mocking tone. "Didn't you hear what Mr. Stevens said? That necklace isn't for you. I have money," Clara insisted, holding up the envelope once again. Alexander snickered. "Your money probably wouldn't even cover the box the necklace comes in." The laughter echoed louder, and other customers began to notice the commotion. A well-dressed woman, clearly a regular patron, approached with curiosity. "What's going on?" she asked. "It's nothing," Lucy replied, laughing. "Just some poor old lady who thinks she can afford high-end jewelry." The woman scrutinized Clara before returning to Lucy, sharing in her laughter. "That's truly amusing." Clara felt her face burn with embarrassment. She turned towards Stephen one last time. "I just want to buy this gift for my granddaughter. Please, let me see the necklace." Stephen frowned, pretending to consider her request. "All right, if you insist. However, I must warn you, we need to verify your financial ability before allowing any purchase." "Verify my financial capacity?" Clara asked, taken aback. She had never encountered anything like that before. Exactly, we cannot waste our valuable time if a customer isn't able to make a purchase, Stephen said, his tone laced with disdain. But I have enough money to buy it, Clara argued, clutching the envelope with desperation in her grasp. Cash, that's inappropriate. If you wish, you can return when you have a credit card or proper financial documentation, Stephen replied, extinguishing Clara's last flicker of hope. By now, other customers had started whispering among themselves, their gazes filled with curiosity and scorn. A man nearby chuckled. This is hilarious. Does she think this is some village market? Clara could endure no more. She felt like a spectacle, like a laughingstock in everyone's eyes. The humiliation surged within her, but she resolutely refused to allow her tears to flow. Straightening her back, she firmly grasped her bag and exited the store, abandoning the laughter and contemptuous stares behind her. Out on the street, Clara paused by a bench, her entire body trembling with rage and humiliation. They don't even see me as a person, she seethed, anger rising in her heart. Yet within that fury, a faint spark of hope ignited as she vowed to herself not to let this injustice persist. Mrs. Clara sat on the park bench near the jewelry store, her trembling hands clasping her cloth bag. The mocking laughter and disdainful glares from inside the shop haunted her, pricking at her pride like needles. For the first time in her life, she experienced a humiliation that felt nearly unbearable. "Are you all right?" a warm, deep voice inquired. Clara looked up to find an older man, well-dressed, standing before her, holding a polished wooden cane. His kind expression radiated concern. "I'm fine," Clara replied softly, attempting to mask the storm of emotions swirling within her. "You don't seem fine," the man observed, sitting down beside her gently. "I'm Mr. Vincent. I often take walks in this park. If you'd like, you can share what happened." Clara regarded him for a moment, finding a small sense of relief in his genuine concern. She sighed and began narrating her story. When she reached the part about the jewelry store staff mocking and refusing to assist her, Vincent's brow furrowed, and his eyes flashed with indignation. "This is unacceptable," Vincent exclaimed, his voice filled with anger. "People like that think they have the right to define someone's worth based solely on appearances. It's disgraceful." Clara bowed her head, her voice quivering. "I only wanted to buy a meaningful gift for my granddaughter. I've saved my whole life for it, but they don't see me as a customer. They perceive me as a poor person, unworthy of entering their store." Vincent was silent for a moment, seemingly deep in thought, before looking at Clara with determination. "Mrs. Clara, what you've described isn't merely your story. It reflects how society often operates, judging individuals by their appearance. But I believe you shouldn't remain silent. They had no right to treat you that way." Clara nodded faintly, although her mind felt chaotic. "I know, but who am I to change that? I'm just an ordinary old woman from a village. I don't have the power or the money to fight them." Vincent chuckled softly, his eyes sparkling with wisdom. "Sometimes you don't need power or money. What you need is determination. If you allow me, I can assist you in finding a way to make them reconsider their actions." The conversation with Vincent was like a refreshing breath for Clara. She no longer felt isolated in her struggle. After bidding farewell to Vincent, she departed with a mix of emotions, rage, and resolve swirling within her. "I cannot let them continue to look down on me like this," she thought. That evening, Clara sat at the small dining table in her humble home. The envelope containing the money she had saved her entire life lay on the table, each coin a testament to years of hard work from selling produce, baking goods, and helping her neighbors. She took out a sheet of paper and began to write, her words serious yet filled with emotion. The letter was addressed to a well-respected lawyer in the region. Someone Vincent had recommended that Clara didn't explicitly outline her intentions, but felt she needed assistance in preparing for something greater. A week later, Clara received a reply from the lawyer. Mr. Xavier, a middle-aged man with a professional demeanor, arrived at her home carrying a briefcase. Mrs. Clara, I've read your letter, Xavier began as he sat down at her table. And I must say your story surprised and impressed me. Are you truly planning on buying that jewelry store? Clara nodded, her eyes sparkling with resolve. I cannot accept being treated with such disrespect. I want them to understand that no one has the right to judge others based on their appearance. Xavier sat in thoughtful silence for a moment before offering a faint smile. You're a remarkably determined woman. I will assist you, but first we'll need to proceed discreetly. That store is currently owned by a corporation, but fortunately, they're looking to offload some underperforming branches. I'll negotiate on your behalf, but won't they discover who I am? Clara asked nervously. No, I'll ensure your identity remains confidential. This is something I've handled numerous times before. The key is to act quickly, as opportunities like this don't stick around. Clara nodded, her heart a blend of nerves and determination. She couldn't believe she had come this far, but there was no going back. Do whatever is necessary, she said, her voice brimming with surprising resolve. A week later, Clara received a phone call from Xavier. It's done, ma'am. As of today, you are the new owner of Golden Sun Jewelry. Clara sat in stunned silence, disbelief washing over her. Then a faint smile graced her lips. Thank you, Xavier, but I don't want anyone to know, at least not yet. As you wish, he replied. We'll keep this confidential until you feel ready. Clara hung up the phone, a strange mixture of satisfaction and anticipation swirling in her heart. She knew this was merely the beginning. Mrs. Clara laid the phone down, her emotions a whirl of fear and fiery determination. The disdain shown to her by the staff at Golden Sun Jewelry had ignited something deep within her. Fire that had quietly smoldered her whole life, but had never had the chance to blaze brightly. Now, as the new owner of the store, Clara was clear on what she needed to do. The next morning, Clara left her house early. Rather than heading directly to the jewelry store, she stopped by to visit Vincent, the man who had given her the courage to press forward. Vincent welcomed her warmly and prepared a steaming cup of coffee. Mrs. Clara, how are things progressing? Vincent inquired, his eyes shining with curiosity. The transaction is complete, Clara reported, her voice composed but radiating pride. The store is now mine. Vincent broke into a broad smile, gently tapping the table. Wonderful. But what's your next step? Are you going to announce it immediately? Clara shook her head, thoughtfully contemplative. Not yet. I want to observe them for a while longer. I want to understand how they operate and how they treat their customers before I decide my next move. That's wise, Vincent acknowledged. With a nod. Do you need any help? I can accompany you if you wish. No need, Vincent. This is something I need to handle personally, but I genuinely appreciate your support. Clara replied, her tone suffused with warmth. That afternoon, Clara donned a clean but worn coat, tied her wool scarf neatly, and entered Golden Sun Jewelry as a regular customer. The employees had no inkling that the woman standing before them was now their employer. "Here again." Lucy, the young clerk, muttered loud enough for Clara to hear. Clara remained silent, quietly observing how the staff treated other customers. A young, well-dressed couple walked into the store, immediately greeted by Lucy and Alexander with bright, welcoming smiles. They spoke sweetly, introducing each piece of jewelry, even inviting the couple to sit and try on items. Clara approached a different counter where Isabel, the oldest employee, was stationed, deliberately engaging her. "Excuse me, could you show me this silver ring?" Isabel hesitated, her eyes revealing a bit of reluctance. Unlike her colleagues, she seemed less overly haughty, yet she still momentarily hesitated when faced with Clara's modest appearance. After a short pause, Isabel nodded slightly and unlocked the display case. Retrieving the ring Clara had pointed out. "How much is this?" Clara inquired, her tone steady. €120, Isabel answered flatly. "That's expensive," Clara said, somewhat dramatically, feigning hesitation. Nearby, Lucy, who was attending to customers, turned around and smirked. "If it's too pricey, you can leave right now." Clara turned towards Lucy, her face revealing no emotions, but internally she absorbed every comment and gesture. "Thank you, but I'm just browsing," she replied calmly. After leaving the store, Clara met with Xavier at a quiet cafe to discuss the next steps. "Mrs. Clara, what would you like me to do now?" Xavier inquired, opening a notebook in front of him. "I want to see all the employee records, especially those working directly with customers," Clara said, her tone cool and authoritative. "Of course," Xavier nodded. "I'll request them from the current management team. Do you plan to fire anyone right away?" Clara shook her head. "Not yet. I want the full picture first. People like Lucy and Alexander need to realize how many other customers they've hurt before me." Xavier smiled, his eyes filled with respect. "You're quite strategic, Mrs. Clara. You're not just seeking retaliation, but real change." "Exactly," Clara replied, her gaze steadfast. "I'm not doing this solely for myself. I want this jewelry store to become a place where everyone is treated with respect, no matter who they are." In the days that followed, Clara kept observing the employees at the store. Often, she stationed herself at the corner of the street opposite, watching how they interacted with each customer. She noticed she wasn't the only one mistreated. A middle-aged woman dressed simply entered the store, only to be ignored by Lucy, while Alexander pretended to busy himself, polishing a display case to evade engaging with her. When the woman inquired about the price of an item, they responded hastily and quickly turned away, exhibiting no further interest. Clara's anger simmered, but she refrained from immediate action, knowing that patience could yield more fruitful results. "They will face the consequences," she thought, clenching her fists. Over the following days, Clara continued her discreet surveillance, noticing every detail. She observed a stark contrast in treatment among the employees. Lucy, Alexander, and others were warm and attentive to well-dressed customers, while cold and dismissive toward those attired more modestly. However, Clara also noted Isabel, who, though not overly friendly, still made an effort to fulfill her duties. That evening, Clara met with Xavier again in her humble home, the dim light casting a determined glow on her face as she recounted her observations. "Xavier, I don't just want to retaliate," Clara began, her voice calm yet resolute. I want this place to be somewhere everyone is treated equally. But first, I need those who disrespected me to confront the consequences of their actions. Xavier nodded thoughtfully. I understand you wish for them to face the repercussions of their behavior. Exactly, Clara affirmed. I want them to realize that arrogance and a lack of respect for others can damage their careers. But initially, I must determine who deserves to be retained and who does not. Xavier paused, then scribbled something in his notebook. We can conduct an internal evaluation. I'll create an anonymous survey for the staff to express their thoughts on how the store should be run. This will help you identify who genuinely values customers and who does not. Great idea, Clara beamed, her eyes brightening. But we need something more direct. I want to observe them in actual situations where they're unaware they're being evaluated. Xavier grinned, grasping Clara's intent. You're looking to create a test scenario, aren't you? Let me devise something. The next morning, Xavier arrived at Golden Sun Jewelry, dressed in a modest outfit. Resembling an average, middle-class man, far removed from his usual distinguished lawyer persona. He played the role of a regular customer, entering the store, to assess how the staff treated him. As Xavier entered, the familiar bell rang. Alexander, positioned near a display case, glimpsed at Xavier and frowned. "Good morning, what do you need?" he asked, his tone lacking enthusiasm. "I'd like to see the silver necklace with the blue stone in that display case," Xavier indicated, pointing to the corner. Alexander sized Xavier up, then smirked. "That one's expensive, are you sure?" Xavier feigned hesitation. "Well, I just want to take a look. Maybe it's in my budget." Sighing, Alexander muttered something under his breath and reluctantly opened the display case. He lifted the necklace, but instead of presenting it to Xavier for closer inspection, he retained it in his hand, speaking curtly. "This one is 1,200 euros. Do you have that kind of money?" "I can pay by credit card," Xavier replied, keeping his composure. "All right, but to avoid wasting time, we'll need to verify your financial capacity first. You understand, don't you?" Alexander said, a cold, dismissive smile overlaying his features, clearly without the intention to assist. Nearby, Lucy observed the interaction, turning to Charles with a whisper. "That guy looks pitiful. Probably just another one here to browse and leave." Charles chuckled. "What a waste of time." Xavier maintained his calm demeanor, smiled politely, and left the store without another word. Upon retelling everything that transpired to Clara, he noted how it reflected her own experience. "Exactly as I went through," Clara remarked, unable to hide her disappointment. "Precisely," Xavier agreed. "But you know what? This will make excellent evidence. We need a few more scenarios to paint a comprehensive picture." The next day, Clara sent an old friend, Teresa, to the store. Teresa, a retired teacher, dressed in simple clothes and carrying a well-used handbag, entered the store with a friendly smile, only to be met with cold stares. "Excuse me, I'd like to see some silver rings," Teresa said while approaching Lucy. Lucy smirked and turned to Isabel. "Isabel, could you help her?" "I'm busy," she said before walking away, clearly unwilling to engage with Teresa. Isabel nodded and stepped forward. While her demeanor wasn't particularly warm, she assisted Teresa in examining a few rings. "This one is 80 euros, Isabel stated, her tone neutral. Teresa nodded, her gratitude evident. "Thank you, I'll think about it." However, as she turned to leave, Lucy laughed loudly and quipped to Charles, She definitely can't afford anything. She's just here to look around for fun. After receiving reports from both Xavier and Teresa, Clara concluded that she had gathered sufficient evidence. She spent her entire evening reviewing Xavier's detailed notes, reliving the sneers and dismissive attitudes ingrained in every word. "These people don't deserve to serve customers," Clara muttered, her hands trembling with rage, but she took a deep breath, reminding herself to remain calm. "This isn't just about me. I'm doing this for everyone who has ever been looked down upon and treated unfairly." The following morning, the atmosphere at Golden Sun Jewelry mirrored any typical day. Golden lights sparkled across the immaculate jewelry cases, and the staff maintained their usual air of arrogance. Lucy greeted a wealthy customer with a phony smile, while Alexander busied himself cleaning a display case, occasionally casting judgmental glances at other patrons. However, everything shifted when the door swung open and the familiar bell rang. Mrs. Clara entered not with the timid demeanor and cast-down eyes they were accustomed to, but with a commanding presence. Wearing a sleek dark dress and an elegant silk scarf in place of her old wool one, her sharp gaze radiated authority, capturing the attention of every staff member. Caught in the middle of serving a customer, Lucy froze at the sight of Clara, her eyebrows arching in surprise. Turning to Alexander, she whispered, "It's her again. How is she back here?" Alexander shrugged, muttering, "Maybe she still believes she can buy something." Clara strode confidently to the center of the store, her heels clicking assertively on the marble floor. Arriving at the main counter, she scanned the staff before commanding, "Everyone gather here." The employees exchanged bewildered glances. Lucy's irritation was apparent. "We're busy serving customers." Clara didn't budge. Her piercing gaze remained fixed on Lucy. "I said everyone gather here now." Just then, Stephen, the manager, emerged from the back office holding a folder. Initially surprised, his expression quickly shifted to his usual haughty demeanor as he addressed Clara. "Madame, if you're not here to make a purchase, I'm afraid you can't interrupt our operations like this." Clara met Stephen's gaze, a faint yet razor-sharp smile curling her lips. "You think I don't have the right to be here?" She reached into her bag and produced a set of documents, slamming them on the counter. "I am now the new owner of this jewelry store." Silence engulfed the store. Lucy, Alexander, and the other employees were frozen, disbelief evident on their faces. Stephen, bewildered, squinted at the documents before returning his gaze to Clara, confusion evident. "You must be joking," he stammered. "She's not." "Joking," a composed voice interjected from behind. Xavier, the lawyer, stepped in, carrying another set of documents and placing them on the counter. "This is proof of the acquisition. From today onward, Mrs. Clara Martinez is the sole owner of Golden Sun Jewelry." Stephen's face drained of color. Lucy's jaw dropped, and Alexander backed away as if in disbelief. "Impossible," Lucy sputtered. "How could she?" Silencing her, Clara spoke, her voice cold and commanding. "I want all of you to listen closely to what I'm about to say." Clara stepped forward, her gaze sweeping over each face. "I've been monitoring how you run this store. You believe you have the authority to judge others solely based on their appearance, don't you? You think only the affluent and well-dressed deserve respect." Lucy stared at the floor, unable to respond, while Alexander glanced around nervously, seemingly searching for an escape route. The only one unshaken was Isabel, the oldest employee, her expression pensive. "Lucy," Clara said sternly, her voice slicing through the silence. Did you think I wouldn't notice what you've done? Mocking customers, refusing to serve them, and even openly ridiculing them right here in this store. I've seen it all. Lucy opened her mouth to speak, but Clara raised her hand to silence her. Don't say anything. There's no excuse for your behavior. You're fired, effective immediately. Lucy's face paled. You can't do this. I've worked here for over 6 years. I don't care how long you've worked here. What you've done is more than enough for me to make this decision, Clara retorted, her tone icy. Clara then turned to Alexander. And you're no better avoiding customers, speaking to them rudely, and lacking any sense of responsibility for your work. You're fired as well. Alexander stood, mouth agape, devoid of words, his face flaming with embarrassment. Finally, Clara directed her gaze at Stephen. And you, the one who was supposed to set an example for the staff, turned out to be the worst of all. Not only did you disregard customer feedback, but you also skimmed profits from the store. Do you have anything to say? Stephen attempted to maintain his composure, though his voice faltered. I was merely doing what was necessary to keep the store running. What you were doing wasn't maintaining the store, it was eroding it. You're fired as well, effective immediately. After delivering these dismissals, Clara faced the remaining employees. I'm not here to destroy this store. I'm here to transform it into a place where everyone is treated with respect, regardless of who they are, how they dress, or how much money they have. If any of you disagree with this vision, feel free to leave now. A heavy silence enveloped the store. After a moment, Isabel stepped forward and nodded at Clara. I'll stay. I've always believed that customers deserve respect. Clara offered a faint smile. Thank you, Isabel. I trust you to help rebuild this place. Clara moved toward the door but turned back for one final look. This is an opportunity for a fresh start. I hope you won't disappoint me. With that, she exited the store, leaving behind a tense silence. After announcing her ownership and dismissing the unworthy staff, Mrs. Clara began her plan to reconstruct the team at Golden Sun Jewelry. She understood that appending a store steeped in outdated practices wouldn't be straightforward. Yet, she held a belief that with the right people and the proper work ethic, Golden Sun Jewelry could transform into a symbol of respect and outstanding customer service. The next morning, Clara convened the remaining staff for a meeting in the office behind the store. The room was small, but the atmosphere buzzed with tension. Isabel sat at the front, her face a blend of worry and determination, alongside a few younger employees, including Anna and Xavier, who managed bookkeeping and inventory. Clara entered, her gaze purposefully scanning the room. I've been observing all of you for the past weeks. I know who among you has diligently fulfilled their responsibilities and who hasn't. Those who disrespect customers have been dismissed. Yet for those of you still here, there's room for improvement. She directed her focus toward Isabel. Isabel, I recognize that you haven't always been enthusiastic, but I've seen you step up to assist customers when others ignored them. You've done your best in difficult situations, and I hold respect for that. Starting today, you'll be responsible for training new employees. With your experience and patience, I trust you to lead them in doing things correctly. Isabel's eyes widened in surprise, and she appeared genuinely touched. Thank you, Mrs. Clara. I'll do my best not to disappoint you. Next, Clara turned to Anna, the young employee in charge of inventory. Anna, while you don't often engage with customers, your bookkeeping has always been clear and precise. I need someone with your attention to detail to oversee inventory management from today onward. Anna blushed, clearly taken aback. Thank you, I'll do my best. Luego, turning to Xavier, who also worked in inventory management, Clara stated, Xavier, I want you to take charge of the store's operations. I need someone young, driven, and ready to make improvements. Are you up for this challenge? Xavier smiled confidently. I'd be honored. This is my chance to prove myself. After appointing key roles, Clara unveiled her vision for the store's future. She held up a sign emblazoned with a bold message. Respect every customer, regardless of appearance, age, or financial status. Clara emphasized that this principle would guide everything they did. I want anyone who enters this store to feel respected and valued, whether they're making a purchase or not, regardless of their clothing's luxury or simplicity. Anyone unwilling to commit to this standard has no place on our team. Isabel nodded firmly, and Anna and Xavier echoed her agreement. Noticing their determination sparked an ember of hope within Clara, elevating. Golden Sun Jewelry required not only retaining the current staff, but also introducing fresh faces, people with positive attitudes and modern approaches to customer service. Clara tasked Xavier with posting job openings across various online platforms and at customer service training schools in New York. Soon, dozens of applications flooded in. Clara meticulously reviewed each application, searching for energetic candidates with strong communication skills and a genuine passion for serving others. Interviews were held in the modest office behind the jewelry store, and Clara, alongside Isabel and Xavier, personally conducted the interviews. One candidate who made a strong impression was Paul, a young man who had previously worked at a luxury hotel. Tell me, Paul, why do you want to work here? Clara asked, her piercing gaze on him. Paul responded with confidence, I believe every customer deserves respect. In my previous job, I learned how to identify customers' needs and address them with utmost care. I want to bring that expertise here. Clara nodded approvingly. Good, I'll consider it. Another standout candidate was Alina, a bright-eyed young woman with a warm smile. When asked why she applied, she answered, I love creating positive experiences for customers. I believe a genuine smile can brighten someone's entire day. Clara sensed sincerity in Elena's words and immediately decided to hire her. After a week of recruitment, Clara had assembled a youthful, enthusiastic, and professional team. She organized a meeting to introduce the new employees to the existing staff. Standing before the group, Clara's eyes sparkled with hope. We're not just here to sell jewelry. We're here to create memorable experiences that make every customer feel welcome. Let's work together to make Golden Sun Jewelry a symbol of kindness and professionalism. The team applauded, and the atmosphere buzzed with positive energy. Clara could feel the transformation she had envisioned starting to take shape. Under Mrs. Clara's leadership, Golden Sun Jewelry began to undergo a metamorphosis day by day. She not only restructured the staff, but also reshaped the store's operations and core values. Clara understood that for Golden Sun Jewelry to become a hallmark in New York, both product focus and sincere public perception were essential. She began by redesigning the store's interior, hiring a team of designers to create a welcoming space that still retained elegance. The golden lights were softened and made more inviting, and the glass display cases were rearranged to facilitate easier browsing without requiring assistance. A massive wall was dedicated to showcasing the store's new motto, respect, sincerity, quality. Additionally, Clara introduced a special section featuring affordable jewelry, ensuring that customers with modest incomes felt equally welcomed. This section was titled Loving Hands, a concept Clara developed for those seeking meaningful gifts without overspending. The new employees underwent extensive training under Isabel's guidance. Now overseeing the training, Isabel taught them to listen genuinely to customers, not simply to sell, but to comprehend their needs and desires. Every staff member was reminded that customers don't just come to buy jewelry. They come seeking joy and appreciation. One day, an elderly woman clad in simple clothing entered the store, her hesitant demeanor suggesting she felt unworthy of being there. This time, instead of receiving disdainful glares, she was warmly greeted by Alina, one of the new hires. "Good morning, ma'am. How can I assist you today?" Alina inquired, her voice brimming with warmth. "I just wanted to check out a bracelet for my granddaughter, but I'm unsure if I can afford one," the woman replied, her voice trembling. "Don't worry, ma'am. I'll help you find a beautiful and meaningful gift," Alina assured, guiding her to the Loving Hands section. After some time, the woman left with a lovely silver bracelet and a broad smile across her face. The story quickly circulated within the community, igniting curiosity about the changes at Golden Sun Jewelry. Before long, the store became known as a haven where anyone could enter without fear of being judged. Clara realized she needed to amplify the message of transformation. Hence, she organized a small press conference at the store, inviting local journalists to share her story. During the event, Clara candidly recounted her experiences of discrimination, asserting that no matter who you are or how much money you possess, you deserve respect. Golden Sun Jewelry doesn't just sell jewelry. We embody the values of sincerity and kindness, she told the cameras. Her story quickly garnered media attention, with journalists hailing her as a courageous woman, standing against injustice and offering a fresh perspective within the service industry. In New York, Clara didn't halt at enhancing customer service. She allocated a portion of the store's earnings to support local charitable initiatives. A notable project was the Bracelets of Hope Scholarship Fund, designed to assist underprivileged students in pursuing education. Clara also sponsored a vocational training center for older women, teaching them craft skills to gain a livelihood. Recognizing that individuals, like her modest yet resilient, deserved opportunities to shine. Each year, Golden Sun Jewelry hosted a grand customer appreciation event featuring free gifts, special discounts, and the sharing of heartfelt stories from loyal customers. These events not only attracted more customers, but also cultivated a sense of community around the brand. Clara's transformation inspired not just the customers, but also her employees. Isabel, who had once worked rigidly and lacked enthusiasm, evolved into a dedicated mentor. Alina, with her perpetual smile, became the most beloved staff member. Even Xavier, who had previously worked behind the scenes, took pride in being part of this change. One day, a loyal customer approached Clara, took her hands, and said, "You've taught us an important lesson, that character and kindness outweigh all the jewelry in this store. Thank you for showing us that." Clara smiled, her heart overflowing with joy. She recognized that the changes she had implemented not only uplifted Golden Sun Jewelry, but imparted a more profound message that a person's value is determined not by wealth, but by how they treat others. Under Clara's stewardship, Golden Sun Jewelry rapidly emerged as one of the most cherished jewelry stores in New York. not just for its superior products, but for the inspiring story of humanity and kindness behind each jewelry piece. Once a simple woman disregarded by others, Clara now stood as a symbol of true character and values. The tale of Mrs. Clara Martinez serves as a vivid reminder of the power of character and kindness. Through her journey, she demonstrated that a person's true worth isn't found in their appearance or possessions, but in how they treat others. The lesson echoes: never judge others by their appearance, for everyone has a story worth respecting. Respect and sincerity not only forge enduring triumphs, but also infuse life with deeper meaning and connection to the community. If you enjoyed this story, we encourage you to like and subscribe to our channel. Your support inspires us to continue sharing heartwarming stories nearly every day. We are genuinely grateful for your support. See you soon.